Welcome to Classic Cinema with the Sage Sisters. My name is Lucinda Sage Midgordon. I'm the oldest sister and I love movies.
I'm the youngest sister, Celeste, and I love movies too.
Yes, and your name is Celeste Sage Tate. And
I
that's why
am.
we and that's why we named it Classic Cinema with the Sage Sisters because we both kept Sage in our names. And our other sister wanted to do that, but she didn't think that Sage and her married name went together. So I
It
don't
wouldn't
want
have
to
mattered.
condemn her because she
It
wanted to
wouldn't
keep
have
it.
mattered.
Yeah, so today we are talking about a really wonderful movie called Auntie Mame, and it is based on, I think it's both a memoir and he wrote a novel called Auntie Mame that this movie is based on.
Or
Um,
travel with my aunt.
Travels with My Aunt, I think, is the memoir.
Right.
And we might be wrong about that. But anyway, she was a real person. Mame Dennis in the movie was a real person. And so I'm going to read the description of the movie. An orphan goes to live with his free-spirited aunt. Conflict ensues when the executor of his father's estate objects to the aunt's lifestyle. So before we started with the introduction, you and I were talking about the two different contrasting lifestyles. There's the Knickerbocker Bank and Mr. Babcock and his conservative lifestyle, and he wants Patrick to be conservative and blah, 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 blah. And then there's Auntie Mame, and she lives this free-spirited lifestyle. And it starts in no
1928.
November of 1928. This movie came out in 1958.
Right.
And so Prohibition is on, but she's at the beginning of the movie when Patrick and his nanny, I guess you want to call her,
Yeah.
uh, she's not really a nanny, but caretaker, we'll say that, because he doesn't really have any relationship with his father at all. So Nora
No.
is the one who makes sure he's fed and dressed and blah blah, go off
Right.
to school and so on and so forth because his mother is dead. So when they show up, there's this raging party going on at Auntie Mame's
Yeah.
apartment. And Nora is like, I think we should leave. She wants to leave.
Yeah. Well, they're
But
scared because when they first approach the door, it's a big dragon on the
right,
door that's carved into it, and when you ring the doorbell, smoke comes
smoke
out of
comes
the
out.
nostrils, and then the peephole is the eyes, and
Right.
they're scared.
Yeah. And Mame's butler happens to be Asian. I don't know if he's Japanese, but it's Japanese Chinese kind of decor
Right.
in her apartment. One thing that it said in the trivia was that there are 11 different apartment
Yeah,
decorations.
I read that too.
And I tried to count them and I only counted like seven,
Yeah,
but
I didn't see 11 either, but I could be wrong.
well, and some of them might have ended up on the cutting room floor, but seven is a lot.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Considering that the the span of the years that this goes through.
right. Because it starts in 1928 and it ends in 1946.
Right.
Yeah, so
Well, and one of the scenes is Patrick had only been there for 2 weeks and she'd already redecorated.
right. Exactly.
She'd already changed it.
Right. Yeah. Now she is a highly wealthy person. Probably their parents were wealthy as her and her brother's parent, Patrick's
I'm
father's.
getting that it's old money wealth. Yeah.
Yeah. And so she's never worked or anything. So, she can just spend money as she wants to, but the kinds of people that she attracts are creative people. They're, I mean, they're sort of the upper echelons of society in a way.
Well, in a different society than what her brother would have her live.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Hmm.
she's very eccentric.
Right.
The people that are at her party are theater people and musicians, and
Composers,
poetry. They're
mhm,
poets and they're
writer,
writers. And,
mhm,
what maybe back then, I don't know what they would consider that in the 20s, but maybe, bohemian, beatnik type
mhm,
people that do not
mhm,
live a traditional life at all,
right.
free spirited.
Yeah, and I was thinking about it this morning, kind of in preparation for our conversation, and I think that maybe one of the themes is the juxtaposition of, well, or the question of what is moral,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how does sometimes morality bleed over into being closed-minded and
Right. Right.
racist and bigoted and all
You
of
know,
that. Yeah, because that's
a controlled environment.
yes, a controlled environment.
Yeah.
Now, one I wanted to show a bunch of scenes from the beginning of the movie where, especially at this party, what happens is when she realizes that he is her nephew and he's come what she thinks is a day early. Um, she stops and she says, "Everyone, this is my little boy, Patrick."
Yeah.
And then she goes, "Oh, no, no, wait, wait, wait. I mean, he's my nephew and he's come to live with me." And immediately, he's my only living relative. And almost
Right.
immediately, everybody goes, "Oh, we need to leave. Okay, we're going to go over to this other party." And
Right.
because they know her, she's interested in everyone and they know she's going to want to sit down
And be with
and
him.
be with
Right.
him and get to know him. And one of the sad things is she asks him, "So tell me about your father." "Oh, well, I only saw him at breakfast and
Yeah.
mostly he would say, 'Pipe down, kid, your father's hung,'" which means he's drunk,
Oh, yeah.
or hungover. And that happens a little bit later where Patrick goes to talk to her. It's in the
Yeah.
afternoon. And she goes, "Oh, your auntie's hung." And he goes, "Oh, okay." And he starts to leave. And she goes, "No, no, 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 Patrick, come back, come back, come back." And
Yeah.
she
No,
sits there
no, no. And she brings him into her arms
and she
and
talks to
she
him.
immediately he is frightened at that first meeting, but also
Hmm.
I think he becomes immediately open to her. She's very affectionate.
Yes.
She immediately hugs him. Oh, you must be hungry. She immediately wants to
Hmm.
take care of him and
Hmm.
not ignore him.
Right. And
And
she
she
wants,
can't wait for him to meet all the people at the party
right,
because everyone is her family.
right. Exactly. Yes. And so we're going to see a scene later when he's almost an adult or an adult. And he even says, "These people helped raise me. They're my family." He's
Right.
explaining that to his very
Fiance.
conservative fiance and her family. And yeah, so and the other one that I wanted to show was when, now this is after the crash. She's lost almost all of her money. Fortunately, she owns her apartment, so they are not homeless. The butler and Nora and Patrick and Auntie Mame.
Same. Yeah.
But it's difficult to buy groceries because she's not trained to do any kind of
No, and she
work.
keeps, the first thing she tries is her close friend is like, "Oh, come be in my play.
Oh yes, this is so
That'll help
funny.
you." And of course, that's a disaster because,
Yeah.
she's so over the top and she's so spontaneous. Where a
Hmm.
play is rehearsed, she does
Right.
these spontaneous things that turn out to be quite disastrous for the play.
Right. Except that the audience loves her because they're
They do
laughing
because
when she,
after the disaster happens and her friend is angry with her for messing everything up because she wears these loud bell dangly bracelets and all you can do is hear them on the stage and she's all over the place when she's just supposed to have one or two lines.
right. Yeah.
And then of course everything falls apart
Right.
and they close the curtain immediately where the audience is thrilled because before that they were falling asleep.
Yeah.
And they end the play. Her friend yells at her for ruining everything. And of course, she's not used to hearing that.
Right.
She is used to everything just automatically working out,
Right.
which to me, that is a sign of a privilege that she had that she didn't realize she had
Right.
before the crash,
Right.
that she could do most anything and it always worked out,
Right.
always worked out. And when this doesn't, it devastates her.
Yes. Well, and then after,
And
and
of
then,
course,
oh, tell about
Patrick is so
Patrick.
loving to her.
Yeah, tell what
Yeah. So
Patrick says.
Patrick, she's sitting on this bench and she's in tears, and he tells her how wonderful she was, and she woke everybody up in the audience because she was so wonderful, and she made the play creative and
Yeah,
alive.
right.
And her name in the play is,
Lady
Lucinda, say it,
Iris. Lady
Lady. I mean,
Iris.
he says, Lady Iris, shall we, have a promenade or something?
Yeah.
It's cute.
Let's go. Let's go, or whatever it is. Yeah.
Let's go, and she's like, and it's the
Lord
cutest thing. I just
Dudley.
love how, and
She
she
calls him
called,
one of
one of the names in the play,
right,
and they walk away,
right,
and he heals her in that
right.
moment.
Yeah,
And it shows you that it didn't take him very long to understand who she is.
yeah.
It
Because
hadn't been very long that she had, you know, he'd been with her, and then the crash happened within a
yeah.
few months.
Well, I think he arrives in November of 1928, and the crash happens in October of 29.
Yeah,
Um,
so it's not very long,
and
really.
I can't remember if in between that time from when he arrives and then the Knickerbocker Bank shows up, Mr. Babcock.
Yes.
He's the
Yeah.
there are he two
He is that
guardians.
contrast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's the other guardian. And he wants Patrick to go to this conservative school in New York. And she's not having any of that. So she sends him to this really progressive school. And
Yeah.
it's a few months later, I think. So it might be like in the spring near the end of the school
Yeah.
year. Mr. Babcock goes to the school where he thinks Patrick is enrolled and finds out
Yeah.
he's not. And so he gets really angry and goes and finds him, and they're
Yeah.
playing fish families.
Yeah.
And everyone's naked and they're
And the
playing fish.
female fish are laying the eggs,
Yeah,
and of course it's hysterical because to him it's like we're just having fun,
right. Yeah,
and of course he insists that because the instructions are in the will that if things don't go the way the father has instructed, he can be taken away and just sent
right,
to boarding school.
right.
So
Which
she
she's,
allows him to go to this conservative school so she doesn't,
yeah, but she's
so he doesn't sent
devastated.
far away.
Yeah, and
Which of course
that's the only way she's gonna have him because otherwise
in her
he
life.
will take him away completely. So she
Oh
can
yeah,
have,
like I think even to like England or something. They were going to
yeah,
send him far.
right. Right.
Yeah.
But if she agrees to the boarding school, then she can have him for summers and for Christmas holidays and Thanksgiving holidays and
Right.
things like that.
The holidays, right.
Now, going back to the depression thing, when she loses practically everything, she
Yeah.
starts to go look for jobs. And we see her doing these inept jobs,
Oh yes.
that's so hilarious. And then when she's working at Macy's, and the only thing she knows how to do is fill out COD things, and
Yeah, cash on delivery.
she doesn't know how to fill
And
out if,
her receipt book is a mess.
oh my
She's just
gosh. Yeah. And then she meets Bo, who's going to order
right.
25. She's the skate lady. He's
Yeah.
going to order 25 pair of skates to give to the orphans at the orphanage near where he
Right.
lives in the South for Christmas. That's their Christmas gift, which I think is
Yes.
very generous. And of course, he's got bunches and bunches of money. But he's taken with her right away. And then the her boss just is so, oh, he's so upset with her because her book is a mess and she doesn't know how to do anything. And
Well,
he
because he
fight
wants to buy these skates with cash and she's
right.
not, she
She
doesn't
doesn't
know
know.
how to process the cash.
Right,
And so her
right,
boss fires her.
right.
And
But
so
yeah.
she goes away. And of course, Bo doesn't like that.
And so he goes to find her because he's found out
Yeah.
her name.
Yeah.
And this is the one time that we see her depressed and sad.
Yep. Well, another
She,
time since the play, she doesn't know what she's going to do to earn money for her family.
oh, that's true.
She's lost yet another job,
Right, yeah.
and she knows she has no practical skills.
Right.
I mean, it's
So,
not said, of course.
right. But when she's walking away from Macy's, she only has this one she's gonna hail a taxi, and then she looks in
Oh
her
yeah,
purse. Oh, she just has this one coin. So she gives it to the Salvation Army
the
guy
bell
that's
ringer.
ringing the bell. She gives the coin to him. And but when she gets home, well, they're not her servants. She considers them her family. Um
Right.
Ito and um Nora have
Nora.
paid the grocery bill for her. That's their Christmas
That's
gift
their
to
Christmas
her.
gift to her. Yeah.
And I
And
love
of
that
course,
she,
it brings her to tears.
yes, but I love that she says, "Do you know how both of you, how dear you are to me?" I mean, it's
Yeah,
like they are a family. So
they
then,
are. Right.
and that's the only time we see her cry is
Right.
then.
Well,
And
Patrick saved up money to get her a close to diamond bracelet.
that
And then he
doesn't make
says,
any
pick it up.
no.
Yeah. And he goes, pick it up and shake it. And he goes, see, it doesn't make any noise.
So
Because she's
great.
always got before the depression, she always got all these bracelets on that make all sorts of noise. And, she's
Yeah.
filled with jewels. So after that, Bo comes to the door and he talks about how he had gone through the phone book, 87 people to find her.
Yes.
And he's so pleased to find her. And of course, you can tell they're immediately attracted to each other.
Yes.
And he's about, oh, I have the cab out front waiting. And they're all like, you're letting the cab just sit there? And he goes, well, yeah. And then, and they're kind of like, how do you have to do that? Oh, well, you see, and you can tell he's from the South.
Right.
I, I have oil.
Right.
And that just doesn't stop coming. It just keeps gushing
Yeah.
away. And they're all like, oh, okay.
I love that
He
he
invites
takes them.
them out. He
Yeah, I
takes
like that he
them
takes them
out.
all out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a very kind man.
Yes, he is. So I love that they fall in love. And the funny part, another really funny part of the movie is when she goes south to meet his family. And
Oh
he,
yeah.
he says, "Oh, I'll join your little family and we'll go out to dinner, but I have a big family." And when she gets there, he does have a big family because there's
It's enormous.
all these
But
people.
he has an estate, he's got acres and acres of land.
Right.
And they're the old South rich.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're the Southern rich.
Yeah,
And
and
they became rich because of the oil, of
right.
course.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and she does whatever she can to fit in. She has
Yep.
changed her hair color.
Yep.
She kind of tries to talk a little Southern. And his mom is this stuck up, cranky old lady sitting in a wheelchair.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
He's so funny. Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
And it's funny too. It said this is a little bit crude, but in the trivia, it said every time his mother coughed or sneezed, she
Oh,
also
yes.
farted. And so that they had to
Oh,
fix it in the sound because that was not okay.
oh my gosh. I bet the stage play is hysterical then.
Well,
But,
I
but
mean,
that
no,
makes
no,
sense
no,
of
no.
why they chose.
The actress did that. Mm.
Oh,
It's
I
not written
see.
into the
Because
play.
it's so funny. Every time she sneezes, though, they do show them like the people standing around her turning away. Oh,
Right,
she's sneezing again. She's always got her snuff, she's
right,
always got her
right.
snuff.
Yes.
It's
S-
hysterical.
So I love,
And the things that it do to try to, because the woman who wanted to marry him is upset that
yeah,
he has found, and the mother's even upset because she's a northerner.
right.
She's a Yankee. How dare you end up being with a Yankee?
I know. Yeah,
And so the woman who wants to be with him, who is not nice, tries to set it up to humiliate her.
right.
They're going to go fox hunting, and she does, I think she gave her the wrong size boots on
Mm,
purpose. Obviously she gets a horse that is dangerous.
right. I think she's kind of hoping
And
that she's going to get killed.
I think so too, because when the vet shows up, what are they doing with this horse? He's dangerous. He's dangerous. And he tries to stop the whole ride.
Right,
And of course the horse does eventually throw her, but she ends up in the bushes and she's okay. And
right.
it's just hysterical because it we're back on track with how, because of her attitude and her outlook on life, everything always works out for her.
Yes.
Even though they're trying to humiliate her, she stays on this wild horse who's running crazy. And then she gets thrown, but it turns out in her favor.
Yeah, I mean,
And
she's riding side saddle, which
oh,
is really
yeah. Oh, she thinks
dangerous.
that's proper. So she does that.
Yeah,
And of course, at that point, women don't have to do that. But
right.
he, um, you know, he, um,
Bo,
becomes very clear to Bo that she got set up.
right.
So he immediately proposes to her in front of everyone
Yeah,
because he doesn't like that. He
right.
didn't like what had
What?
happened to her.
Well, he was trying to propose to her before
Yes, but
but
they got interrupted. Yes.
right.
And
But I love what happens after that because she's all
oh yeah,
happy. She and Bo are together, and then Bo and both of them notice that Patrick's not very happy, and so he sort of
right.
go
Like he said, go over there and
take
take
care
care
of
of it.
Patrick, and she wants to do that anyway, and she just explains, now I just have two men in my life.
Right. And Patrick's okay. She
Yeah.
says, I'm going to still love you. We're still going to be
Mhm.
together. You will be forgotten, because
Right.
that's what he's still, after all that time, is still used to,
Right.
being forgotten.
Right.
And then Bo talks about they're going to take several years to go on extended trips and travel, travel, travel. And it kind of works out anyway because we will be
Yeah.
with him when he comes home from boarding school.
And
And
he also goes to visit them wherever they
he
are.
goes to visit them, right? And Bo just makes him a part of their family, and
Right. Right.
he calls Uncle Bo,
Right.
and he feels and knows that he is a part of Bo's life.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know, he said a 2-year travel, but I think it probably was long at all the travels that they do. But one of the other things that I had forgotten about until I watched it again was every time Bo wants to take her picture, he goes high up someplace to get a big angle. And it scares her. She's, oh, whoa, I wish, oh, you need to not go so high. Please come down. Please come down.
Right.
And it's like 3 or 4 times they show him risking himself to do
Right.
this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an important thing that they build up to, because several years later, um, they're taking this very dangerous hike, and
Up in the mountains.
up in the mountains, and Bo goes too high and he falls off
Yeah.
the top of the cliff.
Yeah. I think it's
And
the
then of course,
Matterhorn that they were
I think it's
climbing.
the Matterhorn. That's right. But what's so interesting is he obviously leaves her wealthy.
Oh,
She will
yes.
be wealthy for the rest of her life
Oh, yeah.
because of him being in oil.
Yeah. And
And
his mother, I mean, when she first meets, or right before
yes,
she meets his mother said, or maybe it's when they meet, all these people are waiting to find out what they're going to get in the will, these vultures. So,
Yes.
I'm sure that she left Bo a whole lot of money. And maybe he had money of his own
Well, he
anyway.
had money because of his investments in oil.
Could be. Yeah.
So, I think he was the one who ran the estate and ran
Hmm.
everything.
Hmm.
And so it was his money to leave to her
Right.
as he chose. And
Right.
because it's very obvious for the rest of the film, she is very well off.
Yes.
She gets her
Well,
jewels back. She wears all her bracelets again and all her
right.
rings, and she's adorned in jewels again, and
Right.
keeps redecorating the house, the apartment.
The
You might as
apartment.
well call it like I must have been like a townhome or something, because I think it's like a 5-bedroom place.
Oh my gosh, yes,
It's
it's
enormous.
huge.
It's
Yeah.
huge.
Well, I think it's said in the trivia, it's in this part of New York where there are a lot of those kinds of apartment buildings
Yes.
with these big,
Well, I
huge.
think they had to build like that in New York because the way they built it up was to be flats and homes,
Yeah,
not.
she doesn't have a like the Golden Age mansion. She doesn't have one of those.
No, she doesn't have one of those. Right. I would imagine her brother probably did, but she did not.
Hmm. But he
And
lived
that
in
maybe is
Chicago.
one of those signs as well that she's eccentric because she doesn't have an in the ground home
Right.
on some sort of acreage or whatever. It's interesting too how if you're wealthy in a certain time period for many decades, it's interesting how they show in these many decades how when you're wealthy, you don't raise your own children. I think that's really hard on Mame because for her, that's not family. But
Right.
yet she has to agree to this or she will lose him all the time.
Completely.
And and you always get the impression that if she had had children, she would have not raised her children that way.
She
She
might
would have
have
kept
had
her
some
children.
help, but she's too interested in Patrick.
She's
And
interested in everything.
she's interested in finding out what
Yeah.
Patrick is interested in and giving
Right.
him like chemistry sets and
Yes. Yes.
telescopes and all these
Yeah.
things to broaden his mind, but also
Right.
to help him along with what he's
Well,
interested in.
and you also get the impression, even though you don't see it, that Mame is well educated and well read,
Mm-hmm.
which they're in that timeline where upper crust women didn't, and that comes from, you know, way back hundreds of years. Well, in society, women did not educate themselves. Yeah, they went to school, but they learned how to be ladies.
Right. Well,
They
they
didn't.
probably learned the basics of reading and
Yes,
accounting so that they could take
yes,
care of the house.
right. But they didn't learn a broader education. And that is not Mame. That is not
Mm-mm.
who she is.
Mm-mm.
She wants to know about the world and people and cultures and all
Right.
sorts of cultures, not just American culture.
Right.
And it really shows how she's not a snob because
Mm-mm.
of that,
Not at all. Yeah.
and um she's inspiring.
Right. So that
Um
time, between her marrying Bo and we get to see little snippets
yeah,
of Patrick at school and his graduation
yes.
and then but you're right, there's this gap where we don't see because I don't think the graduation is from high school. I think it's from
No,
like
he
middle
graduates
school,
from like, you know, grade
junior
school, like
high.
he's going to go into high school, and we don't see
Right.
his high school years.
We don't see his high school years.
Yeah,
The
she
next
and
thing we
Bo are
see is
together still in those high school years,
right.
because she sends a picture to Patrick when he's in
In
college
college.
from her travels with Bo from
Right.
India. I think it's from India,
Yeah.
maybe, or
Or
maybe,
Siam, I think,
oh, Siam. That's right.
which
So,
is not Siam anymore. I can't remember what it
no,
is now.
is it now? I was going to say what it is.
It's
I can't.
not a picture. I think it's a
It's like some sort of
statue.
sculpture or something, and I
Yeah.
think it might be the Kama Sutra.
It's a goddess of some
Yeah, some
sort.
sort of goddess. So
Yeah.
it's just hysterical. So yeah, I think the movie says it only spans from 28 to 46, but there is no way that it's only when Patrick is a certain age when he is out of college. It's only been 9 years.
Yeah.
And I don't know why in the film or even in the story that they make it only 9 years
Yeah.
because it's so much obvious because he's preparing to get married.
Right. And if he's just graduated from college, he'd be 21 or 22.
2022, right, right,
Right.
absolutely. So if he came to her when he was 10, which I think he was 9 or 10,
Mm-hmm.
that's more like 10 to 12 years
Right.
that
Yeah.
he is out of college. Because I think he is out of college. He gets introduced to this young woman from the estate manager who wants him
Mm-hmm.
to live this straight arrow life.
Right.
He is
And it
still very
happens when,
involved.
yes, and that happens when she's involved in mourning Bo after
Right, because
Bo
she takes
dies.
off and goes back and revisits all the
Right.
countries that they. So she's gone for almost a year.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe more.
Yeah, because her friend says, "Oh my gosh, it's been like 10 months.
Right.
We're finally going to see her again."
Oh, yeah, that's what she does say. I forgot that.
She's like, "We're finally going to see her again." Oh my, she acts like she's so dramatic because she's mourning him. And the other male friend who had loved her at one point says she loved Bo.
Right.
He's mourning his loss.
Right.
And her friend's like, whatever.
Her
Like,
actor
whatever.
friend.
Right.
Yeah.
Whatever. And he kind of looks at her like, how do you not? He goes, she has changed. Oh, really? She has. And that goes to show how far removed from those group of friends she had become
Mm.
because of her life with Bo.
Now, I love this whole part of the movie that we're going to see parts of. Are this is Patrick's idea, even though he has kind of gone to the dark
Yeah.
side. Um, he has this idea of her writing her memoirs, and that will kind of help her come out of her depression over
And
Bo's
it's a
death.
great idea.
It is a great idea.
Yeah.
And so when she comes home and she meets Patrick again, and that they have this idea, and then Brian O'Banion, he's hired Brian O'Banion to help her with the book. Well,
Yeah. And brought
pretty
her a scriptionist,
right,
secretary.
a secretary who, oh my gosh, Agnes Gooch. The
Agnes
secretary is
Gooch.
so hilarious. She's
Yeah.
funny. Peggy Cass, or I think that's her name. She's really funny. But yeah, but you can kind of tell the guy that they got to help her with her book is sort of a charlatan because we
He
see him
is a
just,
charlatan, and he's kind of in it for he's so in it for himself because
mhm,
she hands him this pile of stuff that has been transcribed, and he brought it down to like 4 pieces of paper.
right.
And she's like, oh, okay, how is this going to tell my story in this? You know, and her transcriptionist is laughing when she's typing it
I
because
know.
her life is so big. And of course, she says in a couple times, I realize I don't have a life. I'm not living, I'm not
Right. Yeah.
living.
Yeah.
And Brian's like, oh, you're nothing. He doesn't want to think too much of her. But
Right.
and it is interesting how I think at this point they may be talking about how they have gotten wind of her book and they're thinking about would like to have Hollywood look at it
Oh,
and
that's
make
what
it
it
into
is.
a
That's
film.
what the party. Lindsay, her best friend that
Right.
you were talking about earlier, he's a publisher.
He's a publisher.
So he's the one
Right.
who's going to publish her book. Yeah, so they're going to have this party. So we're going to see this
Yeah, and
part
they
of this
want
scene.
Lindsay has set up this party for her and Brian to go to
Right.
meet the film producers,
Right.
see if they would make it into a film.
Right.
And she, in the meantime, has this conversation with Patrick as an adult
Mm-hmm.
who wants her to meet his new girlfriend.
Right.
And she can tell at
Exactly.
that point how much Patrick has changed. he has become quite the upper crust snob.
Yeah, snob is a really good word for it. I was trying to think of the word for
Yeah,
the
because I
Uptons.
mean,
Yeah,
she's really taken aback because he's like, "Can you change this? Can you change that?" And not have any of these. You need to get rid of this person, and you need to get rid of, you know. And she's like, "What? You want me to do
exactly.
what?" And she
Yes.
tells him as much. I can see what you've turned into. And
Yes.
he's even like, "Oh, how dare you speak to me that way?"
But then she realizes right away, oh, that's not the right tactic.
No, it's not. So she hugs him
So
and goes, "It's all going to be just great."
yes.
And
So I just love these last three scenes
uh,
because it
it,
really it
yeah,
shows the whole juxtaposition, the contrast between the two
right,
worlds.
right. And how the family that he's seeking to get married into is they have just probably not very long had their money.
Right.
Somehow they
New money.
earned this income and they're so pretentious and
Right.
what they think
That's
rich people
right.
behave like.
Exactly. Exactly
And it's
right.
ridiculous. They behave ridiculous. It's just absolutely atrocious the
I
way
know.
they behave.
Now, one thing that is mentioned in this movie a lot is these restricted communities.
Yes.
So we're
Yes.
going to see, not in this first scene, but we're going to see the references to that. And
Right.
that means that uh, there are other movies that show about these restricted communities
Yeah.
in, at least in Connecticut. There might have been restricted communities other places around the country too, where it's
Yeah.
just white people who can be live in the
Right.
communities.
And they don't want the others.
They don't want Jews, they don't want
Don't want the
Hispanics, they
other
don't want,
people, those
yeah,
people. Those
they don't
people
want
should not be buying in our neighborhood.
no Asians, no blacks, no, yeah.
Right. Right.
So that's it, that's going to come up in the second scene. This first scene though has probably one of the most famous lines in movie history.
Yeah.
And so we're going to see this scene and I'm going to pause it here so we can insert that.
The pale moon was shining above the green mountain. The sun was declining beneath the blue sea.
Brian! Oh, Brian!
What's the matter? Why aren't you dressed? We can't keep Lindsay waiting.
Brian, would you mind awfully going to the party without me tonight?
You want me to go alone? I wouldn't think of it.
Something just came
Now
up.
hurry up and get dressed. I am not going to that party alone.
If there's nothing more you wanted, Mrs. Burnside, I just thought I'd go up to my room.
Agnes. Agnes. I wonder.
Is anything wrong, Mrs. Burnside?
Agnes. You're coming out.
Where?
You know, you have very beautiful eyes. You take these glasses off and leave them off forever.
Oh, but I can't see anything out of my right eye, Mrs. Burnside.
Then look out of your left
No,
one.
but-
Now. Oh! You do have a bust. Where have you been hiding that all these months?
Mrs. Burnside!
What do you call those things?
Orthopedic Oxfords.
Kick them off. Now, Agnes, dear, take off your clothes. Nora,
Mrs.
Nito, would you...
Burnside, there's a man in the house.
Agnes, will you stop being a goose and get these clothes off quickly? I'm in a hurry now. I've been out all night. Nora, Ito, where are you? And I need to...
Mrs. Burnside, I don't have a very clear picture of what's going on.
Now, Agnes, dear, I am sending you to that party tonight with Mr. O'Banion.
Oh, I couldn't. I'm too nervous.
This will calm you down.
Oh, no. Spirits do the most terrible things to me when I'm not the same girl.
What's wrong with that?
Will it mix with Dr. Pepper?
He'll love it. Drink. Oh, Nora, go upstairs and get out my black Patu velvet. Ito lay out all my cosmetics, my cold cream, eyeshadow, eyebrow pencils, everything.
You see, me be Charlie of the Ritz.
Come, child.
Oh, Mrs. Burnside, I think I know what you want me to do. I'm not a bit sure I want to do
Oh,
it.
Agnes, where is your spine? Here you've been taking my dictation for weeks and you don't get the message of my book. Live, that's the message.
Live?
Yes, life is a banquet and most poor suckers are starving to death. Now, come on, Agnes, live.
Live.
Come, child.
Live.
Live.
Okay, there we're recording again.
Yeah, I have seen the other versions they made after this were musicals.
Right.
I think Lucille Ball is in one of them, and it might just be called Mame. But nothing is, even with the music, this is absolutely my favorite version. And nothing against Lucille Ball by any means. But what makes this my favorite, I love the cast, don't get me wrong, but Rosalind Russell owns this movie.
She definitely does. And I love it when I love in this scene when Brian says, now I'm not going alone, you go get dressed. And she's like, who do you think
She
you are
looks
telling me
at,
what-"
she gives him that like, what? You can't control me.
I know. But then she starts thinking.
Yeah. What am I going to do? What am I going to do?
Right. And then Agnes comes.
Agnes appears and she's like, oh, this.
Right. I love it. I love that.
You know, really what makes this a really great scene too, after this, Agnes, she gets her quite beautifully dressed.
Oh, yes.
And she and Brian leave and Brian's upset. Oh, whatever. You know, I'm not getting my way. And the coming scenes after, how she helped Agnes get a life.
Right. She did.
Agnes blossomed and became something that she always wanted to be, but was afraid. She was afraid.
Afraid to be that. Yeah, exactly. They never explain how it happens because Agnes gets drunk and can't really remember how it happens, that she and Brian get married.
Right. She thinks it's a movie.
Right.
I think it was a movie.
But what is it that makes Brian marry her? They never explain that.
But you know, later on, because she says, I've met his mother, and you know, and she doesn't know why but she liked me, you know, and then Brian kind of disappears for a bit to go off and I think promote the book and the movie and stuff.
Or whatever it is.
Whatever it is he's doing. And then later on, he sends a telegram and talks about, hey, you know, and my wife, Agnes, and he seems like he's okay with it.
Yeah,
so
because that's in a scene that we're going to see in a little bit.
Off screen, there must have been some sort of transformation with Brian as well.
Exactly. I think so too. Because, you know, she says, Agnes even says, when I drink, I'm a completely different person.
Yes. And of course she says, what's wrong with that?
Yeah, I love that too. So, what happens though, I love that Mame uses the whole Agnes being pregnant in one of the scenes we're going to see as a like button. She's pushing the buttons of the Uptons and Mr. Babcock. And but we have to set up the next scene where she's been thinking, I want to go meet these Uptons that have produced
a girlfriend.
Because
she talks like this, and she's,
I know.
Oh, you know, and Jamie, he's watching it with me. He goes, "Why is she talking like that?"
I know. I'm so happy to meet
I said, because
you.
she thinks that's what you talk like when you're wealthy.
Right. Yes, I think
It's
so.
all pretense.
It is. She's not genuine at all.
And they become wealthy so they can be snobby and afford to keep certain kind of people out.
Exactly.
I think that's what their wealth means to them.
Yes, but that's not what Mame's wealth means to her. It means her wealth is inclusive.
Right.
I'm going to meet all these really interesting people, and I'm going to do what I can to help them. Like she helps Alois, is his name Alois? No, whatever his name is, the guy that runs the school that
Oh yeah, she helps him. Yeah.
she helps
And
him.
it's so neat to see the decades that they are still friends.
Yes,
Right.
yes. That's the school that she sends Patrick to,
Yeah. Right.
where they're playing fish families. And yeah, so she has all these people that she's like helping them connect with other people who are going to
Right.
help them in their careers or
Yep.
whatever it is.
That's what she's about. She's
Yeah.
about sharing. And the more you love, the more love you have in your life.
Yes.
You know, there is nothing to be exclusive with. To
Exactly.
her, exclusion is not expansion. Those words
Right.
are not said, but it's so obvious.
Right.
That's who she is.
Yes.
She's all about the banquet and expanding her life and experiencing in the fullest sense growth and life. And I love her spirit. Her spirit is absolutely no judgment other than when she sees the bigots.
Right. Yeah.
And she is
She's
like,
not going to
well,
tolerate that.
we are not going to tolerate that. She's, you know what it is? And the lessons that we have to learn now is who you allow and the energy you allow in your space.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She is very particular about that.
Mm-hmm.
She does not want negativity, harmful or hurtful things in her space.
Exactly.
And
Right.
and you gather pretty much right away that's why she and her brother did not communicate.
It didn't get along. Right.
Because he was a snob.
Right.
He was exclusive. He did not want certain people to have money or success. You know, very much what we're experiencing now. You
Mm-hmm.
know, if
Mm-hmm.
you only can be of a certain kind and have money, you
Right.
can only be of a certain kind and be included. And if
Mm-hmm.
you're not of a certain kind, you are not to be included.
And not only
And that
that,
is what
it's not okay for you to have
yeah, and if
wealth
you don't have
or
those things, then it's not okay.
right.
And you're going to be pushed aside and not thought of.
Right.
And you don't deserve,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And that's why we love this movie so much because it's timeless.
It is.
It is
It
a
is time.
timeless story.
Yeah. So
It
let's
still
watch.
holds up today.
It does. It does hold up today. So that scene that we saw has that very famous line about life is a banquet and most poor suckers are starving to death. And it's true. It's kind
It
of
is true.
true. We do it to ourselves also. We close ourselves down. Like
Right.
Agnes. Like Agnes did. So
Right.
so let's watch the next scene because that scene that we just saw is she's thinking about now I want to meet little Glory's parents. Gloria
Right.
is his fiance. And I want to
Yeah.
meet little Glory's parents. So we're going to see that part of that scene where she goes to meet them in Connecticut.
I made these especially for you, dear. Oh, my. Don't they look delicious? Well. What are they?
Well, I take 2 cans of tuna fish and put them through the meat grinder, then add clam juice and peanut butter. It's a recipe I cut out of the Ladies' Home Journal. These others are just plain jack cheese and chutney.
Oh, no.
Now, sit you down, Mamie. I've something special to show you.
Oh, baby pictures of Gloria.
Well, the whole family, more or less.
On a bare rug. Isn't that precious?
Better not let Patrick see that one. Oh, that's Miss Tuthill, little Glory's first school teacher. I think the light was hurting her eye.
Yep. Enough of this girly talk, Doris. Now, I thought as long as we had Mamie here, we ought to let her know what the plans are.
The plans?
For Patrick's career. Dwight Babcock and I have that all coordinated. When the kiddies return from their honeymoon, I want Patrick to take his choice. You see, with my connections, I can slip him into a berth on Madison Avenue or a seat on the stock exchange.
A seat and a berth, my Patrick. Oh, pardon me. I'm so sorry.
Oh, say, Mamie, you're a pretty fast drinker.
No.
Don't worry, I'm way ahead of you.
Well, no,
I don't happen to like gin, do you, Mamie?
I adore it.
Good. After dinner, we'll get out the cards and play a little game.
Now we come to the problem of what to give the kiddies for a wedding present, and I've got that all settled, too.
Thank you.
Here's my idea, Mamie. Why don't we get together, you and I, and buy the newlyweds that?
What?
Well, that lot right next door. Wouldn't that make a wedding present, though? We could take out this wall, and their patio would come smack up against ours. You couldn't tell where one left off and the other one began.
You wouldn't really be losing a daughter. You'd be gaining a patio.
Yeah. We got to work fast, though. There's some people bidding on that property. Wrong time.
Oh?
Yeah, a fellow named Epstein. Abraham Epstein.
The cellist? Oh, how lucky you are. All that glorious music right next door. And she's a darling. She's one of the nicest women I ever met.
I guess maybe you don't understand quite how it is up here, Mamie. But this section is restricted only up to our property line. So we feel we have an obligation to make sure that, well, you know.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I'll do, Mamie. I'll buy it and we'll just divvy it up 50-50. You won't have to worry about a thing.
My. You've thought of everything, haven't you? Laid out Patrick's career, planned the wedding, even chosen my gift. Well, I guess there's only one thing left for me to do.
What's that?
The very day you get back from Prickly Pines, I'll give an intimate family dinner.
Well, how about that? Say, you're a good scout, Mamie. By golly, you're top drawer.
Okay.
So the things I love about this are she knows the Epsteins. She
Yeah,
thinks
she knows
they're
them well.
wonderful. Yeah,
Yeah.
and his wife is so, and then they
Well,
cut her
thing,
off.
he's a well-known cellist.
I know.
I mean, and they don't even know that.
No,
All they know
don't.
is his last name.
They know that he's Jewish. The family's
Right.
Jewish, and they don't want them.
Those kind, can't
Right.
have that.
Right. Well, and that part where they're both right next to her face.
Well, they always are. They just are in her space all the time, where she can't even turn,
I know. And you were right. When we had it paused and we were watching the scene again, they don't call her by her name.
No. She says my name is Mamie.
And they call her
And
Mamie,
it's
right?
like, I think that too is they do it that way to show that not only do they not care about what your name is, but they see the E at the end and think it's supposed to be pronounced.
Oh, right. Exactly.
Which shows that they are not really well educated.
No.
They're not.
But yeah, it's such a telling scene because they're closed-minded. They're bigots. They're racist.
Yeah.
They're what did you call them? You called them you had a name for them. They're snobs, right?
They're snobs. Yeah.
Exactly.
Once again, we're going to talk about what they think it is to have money is to be exclusive. You make sure that other people who are not white get to have nice things.
Right. Exactly.
It's all said so clearly in that conversation.
Yeah, and another thing that we didn't see this in the scene, but they're talking about their place in Florida and their place in the mountains, and Mame only has her apartment.
That's all she has. She doesn't need all those places because she traveled.
Yeah, and she stays in hotels. She doesn't need those. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and that's probably the point is having all those things shows the world that you have money.
Right.
And maybe also too, if property, you're keeping the wrong people out around that too.
Exactly. I think that's right. So she doesn't need that though, and she doesn't even need to advertise that she
No,
has money.
no,
Really. I mean,
no.
it's obvious that she does
Yeah,
by the way she
yeah.
dresses and stuff, but she's not it's sort of like that that quote that I absolutely love from the book that we read in our book club group. Uh Confidence is silent, and insecurity is loud.
Insecurity is loud. Right.
So
Insecurity is loud.
they're loud.
Yeah, they're very loud. And
Yeah.
really, it starts off even with the executor of the estate. He's loud too.
Mm-hmm. He is
He's
loud.
very loud. Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe,
About his all of the things that
oh
he
yes, and the way things must be.
right.
It must be this way. And he's yelling at her. It must
Mm-hmm.
be this way. He must be raised this way. And it's blah, 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 blah. And she's just like,
Yeah,
okay.
I know.
And
Yeah.
once again, you do understand that she and her brother, because of how writes it in the my crazy sister, you make sure she doesn't raise Patrick to be like that.
Right.
So you get the point right away that he wants Patrick to be exclusive as well.
Exactly. You
And
do get that.
how, you know, really the reality is he has died and he has zero control over that.
Exactly. Well,
To,
and
that he could hire someone to control Mame is ridiculous.
and underneath it all, Patrick at some level, even though for a while he's going off with these bigoted people,
Yes.
and close-minded people, he knows that Mame loves him. And he
Yes.
never got that from his father. He never got
No,
that from
no.
Uncle, whatever his name is, the banker guy.
Right.
He never.
Well, and how at the end, when she does have this gathering, I'm going to have a private party to
Mhm,
celebrate the marriage.
mhm,
They think, oh, because she's got money, they make the assumption that she's exclusive
mhm,
and she doesn't allow certain people in, which
mhm.
is kind of funny because Patrick was introduced to this family and the girl from the man who's managing the estate, and he doesn't bother to tell them how eccentric Mame is.
I know.
I think that's interesting that he has the illusion that it's all under control.
Right. Well, and
That he's
I think he's a
out.
little bit embarrassed by her
Oh
until this
yeah, absolutely.
last scene that we're going to see. And then his eyes are opened because
Yeah. Yeah.
of what she's engineered. And we don't see that part, but her friend Vera, the actress, says, Mame, did you engineer this? And
Yeah. Well, and
she
even
says,
Patrick knows
no.
it at the end of it too. Yeah.
Mhm. She
Right.
goes, Patrick always makes his own decisions.
Yeah. Right. Well, she's just wise. And she
Mhm.
knows he has to see it.
He has to
He
see the
can't hold
contrast.
it. He
Right.
has to see their behavior and
Yeah.
experience it
Right.
firsthand.
Now, when we're seeing this scene, we kind of see her going in the background, but she has a new secretary. And there's
Yes.
a part that we're not going to see where he comes first before the Upsons and
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
Babcock show up. And he
Yeah.
meets, she has a really interesting name. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is. It's an interesting name. And he meets the new secretary. And right away, you can tell that
Oh,
they
they're
have
attracted to each other.
they're attracted to each other. They have
Yep.
this rapport with each other. And I
Yep.
think that Mame picked her because he wants to show Patrick a different kind of woman.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
yes. So, and they are laughing and interacting with each other, and
Yep.
Gloria gets jealous and you know
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we see any of that in the scene that we're going to see, but she at one point I was watching it and the secretary, I can't think of her name, is up on the ladder trying to fix that um piece of art that's a mobile, and
Yes.
she's watching what's going on with everybody, and she's just
Yes.
laughing. She's laughing,
Oh yeah.
and I
And,
think
and she doesn't move because she's watching the whole scene. She's still standing on the ladder and
uh-huh.
she's just amused by the whole
Yes,
outrageous bigotry and how
yes,
obvious they make their
mhm,
snobbery.
right,
And I'm sure even as because she's known Mame for a bit now, she's
hmm,
probably watching the whole thing going, yeah, this is going to work out.
yes,
It's
right,
interesting. I just looked up.
right.
Her name is Pegeen Ryan in the movie,
Begin.
and the actress herself is Pippa Scott. So
Oh,
that
that's
also is an
interesting.
interesting name for the
Yes,
actress.
really.
Pippa.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love her because I think she probably was part of the planning of it, you know. And I love
Oh
the hors
yes, I think
d'oeuvres.
so too.
I don't know if it says in the in this scene if I picked the part where she's serving the hors d'oeuvres and they're eating it. No, these taste really good. And what are they? And r- pickled rattlesnake.
Rattlesnake. Yeah.
So
And I'm not sure if it really is pickled
hilarious.
rattlesnake, but she
No.
says it.
Yeah, she says that it is.
Well, and going back to when the very first night she meets Patrick, I have to say this. When she realizes he needs to eat and she takes him into the other room, and the first thing he wants to try is that black jam or whatever,
Right.
I want to try
Uh-huh.
that. And she goes, well, that's not jam, darling. It's,
It's a fish jam.
it's a fish jam. And of course, it's caviar. And he
Right.
tries it. And he goes, it's salty, but it's good. And
Yeah.
right there, he's going to fit in.
Yes.
He is
Yes.
going to fit into her life
Yes.
very easily.
And there's another part where the Babcock comes when he's still a boy
Yeah.
to check on him, and he says, uh, "My aunt is upstairs working on her halo. Can I fix you a cocktail?" And he knows how to do a martini.
It's hysterical. And he's like, but he just watches him. He watches him make, and he's like, and he says about something about the olives. Auntie Mame doesn't like the olives because it takes up too much space for the
In the
alcohol.
glasses.
And he's like, okay, and then she comes downstairs. Why are you drinking at this time of the morning? And he's like, well, he made it for me.
I know.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. Oh
I
my
know.
gosh.
Okay, so let's watch the last scene, which is like the culmination of Mame's helping Patrick awaken to how terrible these people are, or something
And
like that.
she has redecorated again.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
She
There
has
are like
changed the complete decor to be very
conservative. Oh, no, this one. Oh,
well,
this
no,
one.
no. This one. She's got the hanging
Yeah.
balls and the weird sculpture up that's all sparkly
Yes.
and the weird furniture that rises up and
Yes,
down when you
right.
pull it. I mean, it's hysterical what she's done. The
I
weird
know.
work,
Yeah.
it's so funny. It's
Yule
just a crack.
Ulu. Patrick says, who's the decorator? And the secretary says, Yule Ulu. And he goes, who? And she says, Yule Ulu. And he says, if you said that to the right person, you'd get kissed.
Yeah. And that you can tell that he's attracted to her already.
Yeah, right.
Again, I've watched people talk about this movie on Turner Classic Movies, and they don't really talk about how horrible the Depression really is.
Right.
Because when she's working at Macy's Depression, I'm not sure Macy's would have been that busy. And they really don't show war.
Right.
The
They don't
effects
show
it
the war.
has on the country.
Right.
But maybe that's what the point of this family is maybe they made money off the war
Or
because
even
there
after,
are people that
even off
money
of the
off the war.
Depression. Even
Made
off of the
money off of
Depression.
all of these horrendous situations.
Yeah, that's what I was
And
thinking too.
they act like they
Yeah.
own everything now.
I'm so proud. The whole last chapter's all about me. Fighting the stigma of the unwed mother.
Mr. Upson, you lucky devil. Your future son-in-law is heavily featured in one of the raciest books of the year. Hey, Patrick, I had no idea how many times you unzipped me and put me to bed.
No, just a minute. There are young people here.
Well, Mr. Upson, I only did it when Miss Charles had passed out.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Rita. Oh, now, don't tell me she can't come.
Who can't come?
That divine woman with the snakes we met in Paris last week. She promised to entertain after dinner. Oh, Vera, loan me your glasses.
Read a forthcoming publication of our book. Hereby serve notice that am entitled to 1/2 of royalties for invaluable services as editor and co-author.
Brian!
Brian!
We'll return in a few days to claim fruits of collaboration. My claim will be substantiated by my wife, Agnes Gooch O'Banion.
Wife?
Agnes, think, Agnes, think.
Think.
Try.
Maybe that wasn't a movie we went to. Maybe that wasn't Gary Cooper. It was Brian. And the girl was... me!
Agnes!
I'm a bride!
Oh, darling, congratulations, you angel. Oh, isn't it wonderful, Patrick? Oh, darling, I'm so happy for you.
Honey, isn't this terrific?
Patrick, this is revolting. How can you have anything to do with people
Who aren't absolutely top drawer? Come on, Gloria, these are my oldest friends, people who brought me up.
A bunch of riffraff. I only hope when we're married you won't invite people like this to our house.
Who will be coming to our house? Bunny Bixler and Muriel Puce?
What's wrong with Muriel Puce?
Nothing, except she has the IQ of a dead flashlight battery. And as for your other addle-pated girlfriends, they're a lot of vain, selfish, empty bigots.
Mame, it's marvelous. You're going to make a fortune out of this book.
She certainly will, but not for herself. Mame's assigned all of her royalties to the Epstein home in Mountebank.
Epstein the cellist.
What's that about Mountebank?
Well, can't the Epsteins afford their own home?
Vera, they're not going to live there. They're building a home there for refugee Jewish children.
What's that?
Oh, no! Jackpot! Piggy, call Denmark quick and get a hold of Lulu.
You ready?
I've been ready for quite some time. Come, Glory.
You...
The Claude! 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 Don't be hasty. Claude! 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 For 9 years, Mame Dennis Burnside, I have done everything in my power to protect this boy from your idiotic, cockeyed nincompoopery. And now you've ruined everything. All my plans for Patrick have just gone...
Your plans? I mean, really, you have the bill of fare, haven't you? And you're shouting orders for everyone. Did it ever occur to you this boy might be hungry for something you've never even heard of? When Patrick first walked into my life, a frightened little boy, hanging on to Nora's hand. It was love at first sight. For 9 years, I've tried to open some windows in his life, and now all you want to do is shut him up in some safe deposit box. Well, I won't let you do that to my little one. Oh, no. He's not little anymore. And he's not mine. But he's not yours, Mr. Babcock. Patrick won't allow you to settle him down in some dry-veined, restricted community. Make him an Aryan from Darien and marry him off to a girl with braces on her brain.
So you're right. I love that line too. Aryan. I don't want him to be an Aryan from Darien. The other thing that I love about it is I don't want him to marry a woman with braces on her brains. I think that's such a
Right.
great
Braces on her brains.
line.
Beautiful line.
Yes, such a great line. And oh my gosh, it is so funny when he kisses Agnes.
Yeah,
and
no, it's I think what makes this movie, especially for the time period that it's held in and the time when it was made, how bold it is to say it like it is,
Yes.
that they're bigots, that
Yes.
they are Aryans from Darien, you know,
Right.
how being so close-minded is not
Yeah.
living,
Yeah, it's not living.
you
And the
know.
thing is that there are other movies that I absolutely love. Gentleman's Agreement's one of them, that
Yeah,
where, you know, it's right after the war. Everybody knows all of the issues with the
yeah.
Jews and the amount of people who were killed,
Oh, yeah.
murdered in the camps, and they're still so bigoted. They're still so, they don't
Oh,
get
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
They don't get the suffering.
No.
Uh, you know,
Well, and I'm not sure that they don't get it, but they don't care.
maybe they don't care.
The absence of empathy.
Yes, I think you're right. Yeah,
Absence of empathy is
right.
what this also shows.
Yes.
And how even now in 2025, you know, they're still being said empathy is weak.
Right.
Empathy is not what's important. And that being cruel is progress. Still,
It,
people
yeah,
think that. And it's so odd. It's quite shocking.
it
Um,
is.
but we're learning from that too.
We are.
We are
Yes,
learning from that.
it is odd because to me, empathy and compassion are superpowers. When you
But they are
can
superpowers, right?
be there for other people and help them, and you know, not not just the people that you get along with, not just your little
Yeah,
community,
right.
but all people, anybody who needs it. And that's kind of where Aunt Mame comes from, is anybody who needs
Yeah.
help, she's going to help them.
Well, and it would be so interesting to know how her parents were. It's hard to know, and of course it doesn't matter because that is not the story.
So this movie is a great example of how to do that, how to be expansive. Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
how not to be afraid,
I know. Right. Exactly.
you know, and yet a few times that Mame is afraid. However, it's also like a laws of attraction movie because she is so open and loving, that's what she attracts.
Exactly right. She does
She
attract that.
absolutely attracts that.
Yeah. Even
And
from
within
the people who work for her. For
right, exactly.
them
And she ends up with Bo because
right.
she attracts that
Right.
because of her open spirit and
Yeah.
not being shy, so to speak, I guess, or closed off.
Right.
She just welcomes it all and knows that absolutely no one is her enemy.
Yes.
I don't
Except
think
for
she sees
people,
enemies.
well, except for well, maybe she doesn't see them as enemies, but she just doesn't want to associate with them. The
Right.
people
She
like
knows,
the Uptons.
okay, this is how you think, but I'm not going to have you. This is
In
her boundary is these people will not be welcome in my space.
exactly. Yeah. Okay, so we're having internet issues today. I don't know what's going on, but I love our conversation, and go watch this movie because it's such a
Oh,
fantastic
yes.
movie.
She
And
will not be.
the next movie that we're going to watch is The Majestic with Jim Carrey. And it's a serious role for him. And I love that it is about the McCarthy era and the
Yeah.
blacklists in Hollywood. Although he doesn't remember who he is. So he gets blacklisted and then he has an accident and he doesn't remember who he is. So
Right.
if you want to go watch that one before we make the recording, that would be great. And I have created a Facebook group called Classic Cinema with the Sage Sisters. If you want to go join the group, I'm going to make Celeste an administrator. We're both administrators, but I want us to have a conversation about movies, classic movies that
Yeah.
we love. So go find us there too. So, do you have anything else you want to say before we go?
No, I just hope you join us, and I hope people find us
Yeah.
because this is fun.
Yeah, and subscribe to our channel and share it with other people, and
Yeah.
and find us on Facebook and
And please, if you have things to contribute and make comments, please do so to
oh
contribute in a positive
yes.
way,
Right. Yes, exactly.
a positive
Because
way. Yeah.
because there are lots of things you can say about these movies and how and kind of how they are relevant for today, as we
Yeah.
said, as we have said on all the movies we've talked about so far. So
Yes.
okay, so
All
see
right.
you
Thank
next
you.
time. Go watch
All
classic
right.
movies.
Bye-bye.